Women Innovators. Interviews with women with big messages and big missions, sharing their stories to inspire you to live your passion and step up to make the world a better place. Here's your host, Tammy Patzer.
Hi, everyone. This is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Kimberly Weitkamp. She is a successful marketing strategist, podcaster, and conversion copywriter. She works with entrepreneurs, service providers, and coaches, and she's discovered the world of marketing through writing articles while she was traveling as an English teacher in Spain. How cool is that? Actually, it's interesting, Kimberly, because I'm actually working on a new podcast all about being a nomad in the business world. So it's interesting that you actually have experience with that. With her unique background, Kimberly developed the audience conversion method to create long-term motivated businesses and buyers for businesses. And she combines the principles of great customer service and easy learning, which helps companies regularly sell out their programs to increase brand awareness campaigns and lead nurturing sequences. She's helped several entrepreneurs and business owners around the globe create long-term customer relationships with their right audience. Kimberly helps your audience discover a new, more authentic approach to marketing that centers around building loyal customers who will rave about your products. And it's really important when you think about audience. It's interesting because my name of my company is Total Audience Market Immersion, Tammy. And I thought about audience right away because in my big vision, and it sounds like your big vision too, it is you see the world as this audience of people who are looking to you to give you or to give them what they need to solve their problems. And so I think that's really interesting that your website is called theaudienceconverter.com. That's really cool. And today, I really want to drill down on something that you're talking about, which is about helping. And you say that helping is your secret weapon. So I really want you to unpack that and help our audience understand what helping really means and how that can be the core of your great marketing campaign. So welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you so much for having me, Tammy, and thank you for that great detailed introduction. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, thank you. But like I said, let's get into this idea of helping because, sometimes people are afraid to give. Have you ever noticed that? They don't give it away.
I have, and I've noticed actually, that's really common in anything you see about marketing, especially on the online. People will say, don't give away too much. Don't give away too much. You have to make sure to hold something back. And I come from it as an approach of the way people interact with companies has really changed, especially since moving to the online business, essentially. It used to be if you had a problem, you didn't really have a central place you could go to get an answer to a question that you had, right? You might have like an encyclopedia or you might be able to ask friends, but if you had a really interesting problem or if you weren't sure about something, you didn't have a central place you could look. Well, now people pick up their phones and they talk to it and they say, hey Siri or hey Google, can you tell me how to... And then they ask their question. So when talking about online marketing especially and talking about how businesses can use it, their best buyers are already looking for what they do, right? They may not know what the business exists. They may not know that name. They may not know the name of the product or service, but there are people out there now who are looking for help with what you offer. They're looking for help for a specific problem or a specific concern, or, maybe they just want to know the 10 best running shoes for long distance runners. But they are looking for help for a particular problem, and they want to hear the information that you have. So creating your marketing campaigns with that idea at the core of how can I help you, and you being your audience, you being the people that you want to attract, keeping that at the core of everything you create. When talking about marketing, it's a great way to bring in the right people and to make sure you're bringing in the right audience that can most benefit from what you do.
So you're talking about looking at everything from that perspective. And it's so funny because I actually cuss and swear at Siri because she doesn't understand what I'm asking.
Yes.
But that's my problem. But you have a basic concept of what are the simple questions that you could come up with to develop this marketing plan based on the concept of helping.
So first, what you want to do first is make sure you know exactly who you're talking to. Because before you can even get into what questions are my audience asking, you want to know who exactly you're trying to attract. And that's one of the big struggles and obstacles I find when working with my clients. I'll ask them, okay, so who do you serve? And they'll start answering me with an answer like, oh, we serve businesses with over 250 employees who make X number of sales a year. And I say, okay, I'm going to stop you, because when you're talking about somebody who's going to interact with your marketing material, it's an individual person. So while they may work for a business with over 250 employees, who is the exact person that you want to talk with on that first level, at that first interaction? Because it used to be you would need a lot of touch points to sell something, especially if you're talking business to business. And now what you'll find is people are doing their own research first. So they are already 60 to 70% of the way to the sale before they reach out to contact somebody for that first call, because they've already gotten that information about what you're offering. So you want to make sure that the people you're bringing in are the right people for you to serve. So are they an HR manager? Are they somebody who's got 5 employees and they're in charge of them and they want to run better meetings? It's all about figuring out that defined what I call a buyer persona. And you don't want to do it too broad as like a demographic. Women 35 to 55. That's really, really broad. But creating really, really specific examples of, okay, who do I have? Who have I served recently even? That I would like to help more people like that. Or they have gotten the biggest conversion. They have gotten the most benefit out of what we offer because they're our ideal buyer. And you create your marketing materials by first defining that audience and then finding out what are their top questions. What are they asking? What are their concerns? And how can I help them address those concerns?
So do you have any suggestions on the best ways to find out what your ideal customer is asking? Like what quizzes, surveys, polls? What do you suggest when you're at that stage of the game? Once you get that ideal customer, what I think is I spend a lot of time on that one thing. And most of the time people will try to tell you that everyone is their ideal client.
Yes.
And so then you go, okay, let's, try to narrow it down. And then of course you get into all the marketing lingo, like calling people avatars,
yes,
things like that. And then what I find is people get more confused. So how do you survey, I guess, those people to find out what questions they are asking so that you can deliver?
So if you already have happy customers, there's no better source of information than the people you've already made happy. And it doesn't have to be really in depth. Usually a 1 or 2 question survey going out to people that relates to getting, how they best helped. So you could even just phrase it as, we're looking to best serve you, right? It's always in terms of how you can help the people you already are helping and those you want to help more of in the future. So sending out a quick message to your happy customers saying, we always are looking for ways to improve our services. Can you let us know what's your biggest accomplishment using our service, our product, our consulting firm, what have you. And so that's one way. Another way is that you also want to be asking that particular question at the highest point of enthusiasm. So right after someone buys from you. So like if they are on a sales page and they've bought a service or they've bought a consulting hour or they've bought a product, a one-question survey to find out what's in their mind at that moment of purchase so that you can kind of get an idea as to people who are almost ready. What were their big concerns or why did they decide to take that action now? So a one-question survey on the thank you page, thank you so much. We love getting to know more about our customers. What made you decide to invest with us today? Something like that.
Well, that's a really good idea about having that question right on the thank you page. So what if you're dealing in the, let's call it real world versus the virtual world, and you don't have a thank you page, but you have that moment in time? When should you be asking, like either for input or for referrals?
So if you're talking about real time, right? If you have somebody on the phone, simply ending your call with, I've really enjoyed working with you. Let's say you're a service provider, okay? And it's the end of the call. You've given what you've promised. So if it's financial consulting, if it's marketing advice, what have you, whatever the service is that you've just provided, at the very end of the call, saying something like, I've really enjoyed getting to know you and your business. I've really enjoyed helping you, and I love helping more people like you. If you ever know of anyone who you feel could benefit from what we talked about today, let me know. Something like that. Or if you're talking about in person, like they've just bought something. Just simply asking, we love getting friends of friends. We offer a discount for 10% if like you're in the physical product world, right? Refer your friends and let them know what your experience was like with us. And we're happy to offer both you and your friend a discount of some sort or something similar to like where you are relating what's just happened. You're tying that emotion of happiness, of satisfaction, of getting what they were looking for and saying, look, we want to help more people achieve what you've just achieved. Help us do that by letting us know who might else be a great fit for us.
So the audience converter is the name of your website. And obviously you created the audience conversion method. So what are the components of the audience conversion method?
So I use the audience conversion method because when I first got started, I worked with a lot of software companies and I struggled with getting them. They would approach me with, okay, we need a case study or we need a white paper. And then my next question would always be, okay, where is this in your buyer's journey? Where are they going to find this? And then what is their next step? And people would be a little bit lost. They didn't really have a strategy in place. So with the audience conversion method, it's all about figuring out the components you need to create a full strategy from the first time they interact with you all the way to the end. And the parts of that, it's very self-explanatory, actually. It's audience, ask, audit, answer. So finding out who your audience is, what they're asking, auditing your own materials to see if you are helping them with that or not, and then answering their questions. But using that as the base, I help people create their full-term strategies to figure out, okay, if somebody's going to come in with this particular question, where might they need to go next? What might their next question be? So it's all about figuring out, it's all about kind of laying out, if you will, in a easy to understand plan. Okay, we want to help our customers. How can we best help our customers? These are the questions we need to answer first. These are the questions we need to answer second. This is how our audience is going to move through our marketing. And then that also helps you figure out your call to actions. It figures out the next steps they should take. And it figures out how to kind of interact with your audience so that you build a long-term relationship instead of hey, you found us, come buy our stuff. And then the only time you interact with them is buy our stuff, which doesn't create those long-term happy customers as well.
Everything you're saying is really good advice because what people want to do is they want to do business and have a relationship with the people. I find that some of my clients, they stick around for years. And as long as I communicate with them about what I can offer them, it's like, oh, I'll just come to you because they're comfortable with that. So it's ask,
audience,
ask,
audit,
answer. Okay. So find out who it is you're talking to first, and then ask them the questions, audit what you've already got or what you're looking for, and then answer whatever those questions are. And you need to understand your buyer's journey. And I think that sometimes, especially with entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs, they get stuck in understanding everything that you're talking about. So it sounds to me like with entrepreneurs, service providers, and coaches, that your audience conversion converter can really help them to really understand. And you're very knowledgeable, and it sounds like, hey, okay, so where are we in this journey, the buyer's journey? And I think that's important for people to stop and go, okay, what is the buyer's journey? How are we going to go from point A to point B and create this relationship? So you help people with the long-term strategy, and then you're a copywriter also. Yes. And what are the other services that you provide for people?
So in general, when talking about copywriting and marketing strategy, for me at least, they go hand in hand. If I'm talking about writing the copy for somebody, I need to know about their customers. I need to know about their products. I need to know about how somebody is getting to the piece of copy I'm creating and what the next step is for them to take as well. So what I do is, I'll create all the pieces that make up that path. So when I use the word buyer's journey, it's literally just, okay, if you have somebody who you want to become a buyer of your product or service, where do they come in? Where do they first find out about you? What do they do next? What do they do next? When do they buy? What does that look like? How do you communicate with them? How do you communicate with them after they buy the first time? Those types of things. So the buyer's journey, it's different for every company and every product and service, but it's all about, okay, well, how do your buyers find you? What do they do? What is that path, that journey, that process look like? How do they, navigate online or offline? Is it phone calls? Is it emails? That kind of thing. So the services I offer in general are, it depends on the level of what you need. Some people, they are just looking for a really quick, is it working? Is it not working? So I offer reviews for either websites or for email sequences. Give me your top 3. What are your most important pages for you to get feedback on? And I'll go into, the user experience, right? That's a fancy word of saying how easy is it for someone to use the website that you're on. Also the copy, giving recommendations, giving ideas about, wording, ways to improve it, how you compare to others, that kind of thing. Obviously, I also write the copy. So one of my favorite things to write is what I call a welcome sequence. And that's when someone first signs up to be a part of your list in whatever method that is. If they downloaded something, if they saw you somewhere and you just put them on your list, what have you, that ability to kind of build a trust factor and an authority with your new people that have just heard about who you are. Over a course of 5 emails leading to a specific action. So for most people, that specific action is either a consult or an introductory product. But, kind of building up that authority and building up that know, trust factor through a series of a couple of emails. And I also do, sales funnels, writing sales pages, writing email sales sequences, all of those good things. But in general, when I talk about creating those long-term relationships, it's all about creating that nurturing aspect of it, right? After that first sale, it's not where it stops. It's just the beginning of your journey with that particular person.
That's interesting, because so often people think they'll do one thing. Let's say an author, for example, they write a book. They think, oh, I wrote a book, everybody will come. Or it's a bestseller, everybody will come. But it's always about beyond whatever that one step is. I wanted to, I'm going to ask you to give some people a little bonus to our conversation, because you also talk about how to get lost buyers back.
Yes.
And I would love it if you could talk about that a little bit, because you have some action steps that people can do to get, people back. For example, I got off on some tangent, and so I didn't talk to my list for a long time. I had like 1,000 people, that didn't hear from me. So, obviously they're like, you disappeared off the face of the earth just because I wasn't in contact. But I know that happens to people, but I know they still like you because you had this relationship at one point, and it's just like, they're probably like, oh, there you are. So can you talk about how to find your lost buyers?
Absolutely. So that's kind of a two-part approach. The one you're talking about is the list you already have. And then there's another part, which is the people you never knew were interested in. So still today, I see a lot of people who they either don't have a way for people to get in touch really fast on their website, or it's not obvious, or they use this one word. It's the most dreaded word for me because nobody really responds to that, and that is the word newsletter. They'll have an opt-in box, and an opt-in box is just, those little pop-ups, or it's to the side and it says, please sign up for our newsletter. And the thing is I don't know about you, but my inbox is overflowing, right? I have way too many emails and I don't have time to read them all. So I don't want to sign up for another newsletter. And the truth is most of the people who visit your website don't want to either. Because they don't know what they're going to get. They don't know what the benefit is of signing up to a newsletter. But if you say, give me your email and I will send you weekly actionable tips about how to grow your money from $0 to $150 a month, well, that's interesting. That's specific. That's a benefit. So if I'm looking to do something like that, absolutely, I want that information. Or, offering what we call a lead magnet, which is a quick download that's really easy for somebody to consume and then take action on. Such as if we're talking about marketing again, 5 email subject lines for you to test today for your list. Okay, that sounds interesting. That's something I would like more information on. That's the reason for me to hand over my email. So I still find a lot of people, they don't have a way for people to hand over their email, or they don't have something specific and actionable as a reason to hand over the email, right? It's just sign up for the newsletter, and it's on the very bottom of the page and no one can find it because they don't scroll that far. And then asking about your question about the list that you already have, another way to find those lost buyers is, my philosophy is, it's never too late to reach out because they've already raised their hand, right? They signed up for your list. So at some point, they were interested in learning more about what you do. They want to learn more from you, or they want to hear from you because they liked what you had to say. So if they've already said yes, then they've expressed that interest. And as I said, right, all of us have very full inboxes today. So they may not have even realized that you haven't reached out to them for 2, 3, 5 months. And so what I tell my clients to do is, if you have a list and you haven't connected with them for a while, they're not lost to you. And there's a lot of value still for you to have from those people who have already said yes. So what I talk about is doing a re-engagement campaign. And that is, even if it's been a couple of months, you send out a quick update about what's been going on. And in that update, I recommend against saying, sorry, it's been 5 months since I reached out to you. Because then you're just reminding people that it's been 5 months. And then they're like, oh, I don't even remember why I signed up. I'm done. And they'll unsubscribe. But if you say something like, so excited that we're nearing the end of 2019, here's what's been going on, and here's the newest things and benefits of what you can read about on the blog, then people, they'll open those updates. And that's just it's a warmer. Essentially, it's a way to kind of re-engage, but it's not asking for something in particular. It's just letting your email list know, being helpful, that you've got information, that you have resources that they could benefit from. And that kind of relates back to it's all about creating those long-term relationships. And all of us get busy, right? All of us get busy. We get overwhelmed. We have too many things to do in our tasks lists, in our inbox, what have you. But reaching out, even if you've not communicated with them for a while, it's never too late. That's one big myth, is that it's never too late. So if it's been a while, I say create an email today that is literally just, hey, this is what's been going on. And if you're still looking for help with the reason they signed up to your list, here's those resources again for you to look at.
That's all of those things are really good ideas. And what I really like about what you're saying is it's absolutely actionable. Like right now, you could write even a brief little email, even like saying, hey, it's November. I'm so grateful for you.
Exactly.
And just get them to go, hey, there's Tammy. I wonder what she's been up to. Or to share a photograph or make the short video. I mean, I can, just from what you just said, I can imagine all different easy little things that you could do, take 5 minutes, boom, you've got something to share. So I just wanted to ask you to get, a couple little action steps, because that's really huge. You also have a podcast. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Tell me more about your podcast, because everybody listening, obviously they're listening to a podcast, but podcasting is becoming something that if you're marketing your business, you should be paying attention to what's going on in the podcast world. So what is your podcast?
Yes. So I have a current podcast called Chatting with Copywriters, and it's me and a co-host. We're both working copywriters, and we sit down and have a chat, essentially. The idea is that it's a quick chat that you could have over coffee about one particular aspect of copywriting for that day. And what we talk about is from a business owner's perspective. What should you be looking for in a copywriter? Or if you're looking for help, for example, with, I need to create an about page. I don't know what to do on it. It's actionable, quick advice on what works, what doesn't work, those types of things. And I'll be launching a new podcast called the Audience Converter Podcast, which is all about how you can bring your audience from strangers to loyal buyers and customers, and what it takes to really grow a business. And all of the aspects. It's not just marketing, but it's about, the mindsets and the tools you need in place and all of those types of things. So the Chatting with Copywriters has been around for about a year now. And we get a couple of guests on every once in a while, but most of the time it's just a friend and I sitting down talking about copywriting in a way that people can, listen on their commute and then walk away with a great action step to take.
Wow, I think both of those sound great. And I know that people really love action steps, because if you can take one action that could improve your success for that day, you think about it. That could make the difference between making money or not making money. And the Audience Converter podcast, I look forward to that. Because again, if you don't convert, that means that you really have a pretty brochure that's online. That's how
right.
That's how I look at it, is because back in the day, that's what most people had. Today I interviewed somebody, and their website was so old. I think it was from 2000. And, think about how things have changed since 2000, but you could really see the difference in that. And I'm pretty sure that people would go to her website today because it was outdated. 2012 was the last input. It still had good information, but it was very dated and everything. Wow, Kimberly, I think that we could probably go on and on chatting, because it's very interesting to me about the audience and how it all works. And then, of course, podcasting is always fun. So before I let you go, what is the best way to connect with you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for having me on. So the best way to connect with me is to head over to theaudienceconverter.com/podcast. And there I have a free gift for your listeners, where they can, join the 5-day challenge is what I like to call it. It's a 5-day email course for improving conversions on your website. It covers the 5 most common areas I see where people maybe can test something, or they aren't realizing that they are driving people away by not having something on their website.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about that, because one of my pet peeves about websites is, number one, if you can't figure out how to contact them, and when they don't have a phone number. And it might just be because I'm a baby boomer, but I like to have a phone, because if I'm really hot for something, I want to pick up the phone, get the information, and buy it. If that's one of the options, where I want to get the information now, and sometimes the phone is the way to go. And I know that not everybody, would use the phone. Like, for example, my son, who's 29, if I call him on the phone, he doesn't answer. I have to text him. But older people, if that is the demographic you're looking at, people who are used to using a telephone and actually having a conversation over the phone, I can get more done in a 1-minute phone call than I can going back and forth on a text.
Absolutely.
It's sometimes I'm like, I need this information, not all this back and forth, to have a conversation in a text. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly. And I will invite you back again in the future, because like I said, my audience is always looking for action steps so that they can move their business forward. And it is really good that you're there with such a good, solid background in copywriting and in converting, having that theaudienceconverter.com with the podcast available so that people can just, download and listen. And that free gift of the 5-day challenge with the emails, that's a really super gift. So I encourage everyone to go get that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Tammy. It's been a lot of fun.
Okay, thank you. Everyone, this is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to Women Innovators with Tammy Patzer. To learn more, please go to womeninnovatorsradio.com. And please do subscribe and share to spread the big messages and big missions to change the world.